You know, it's funny. In pretty much every other job on the planet, the more you do, the more you get. You put in more hours, you grind harder, you get a bigger paycheck. Simple. But in trading, that same instinct, that drive to do something, it can be an absolute death sentence for your account. Today, we're going to talk about why your greatest edge isn't some fancy indicator, but the incredibly rare and powerful discipline of doing absolutely nothing. I mean, look at this. This visual pretty much says it all, right? On the left, you've got a normal job. The formula is easy. More effort, more progress. A nice, steady climb upwards. We've been conditioned our entire lives to believe this is how success works. But then you look at trading, and that whole formula gets flipped on its head. Constant activity, constant effort, it doesn't lead to a steady climb. It usually leads to a really sharp drop. The real reward, it comes from these long, boring periods of waiting, followed by one single decisive move. And here's the thing you've gotta get. This is absolutely crucial. The market doesn't care how many hours you're staring at the charts. It doesn't give you a bonus for trying hard. The only thing it pays for is being right. And being right often means just waiting for that perfect moment when all the probabilities are stacked in your favor. Every single time you jump into a trade just to feel busy or productive, you're essentially paying a boredom tax straight to the pockets of professionals who are patiently waiting for you to make that exact mistake. So that brings us to maybe the most important question you can ask yourself, and I want you to be totally honest. That last trade you took, was it because every single one of your rules was checked off? Or was it because you felt that little itch, that FOMO, that gnawing feeling that you just had to do something as you watched the candles move without you? Your answer to that question? Well, it reveals everything. Okay, so if we know all this, why is it still so ridiculously hard to just sit on our hands? Well, the answer isn't that you lack willpower. It's biology. It's all about what's happening inside our own brains.
And this is where we hit something called the dopamine trap. See, your brain is basically a dopamine-seeking missile. But here's the crazy part. It's the anticipation of a potential win from a maybe setup that releases more of that feel-good chemical than actually winning itself. The market is basically the world's biggest casino, running 24/7, and it's offering you an endless stream of these almost opportunities just to keep you hooked and clicking.
Which forces us to ask another really tough question. When you're taking those trades that are just close enough, are you really trying to make money, or are you just chasing that rush, that hit of excitement that comes with possibility? Just understanding that difference, that's the very first step to breaking that cycle of impulsive trading. The right way to think about it is like a master fisherman. He's not out there frantically throwing his net in the water every 5 minutes just because he's bored. That would just scare all the big fish away. No. He sits there in absolute stillness, sometimes for hours on end, just waiting for that one single moment, the perfect opportunity to get the big catch. For him, the stillness is the work. So how do we become that fisherman? Well, it takes a fundamental shift in your identity. It's about going from being a machine gunner to a sniper. This is the machine gunner. This is where most people start. They see movement and they just start firing. They spray their capital, their ammo at anything and everything that moves on the screen. They're trading for the excitement, for the action, for that feeling of being in the game. And the result? Wasted ammunition and a totally exposed position.
Now, contrast that with a sniper, the professional. They spend 90% of their time just sitting in the shadows, observing, waiting. They have one specific target and a very specific set of conditions that must be met. If those conditions aren't met, they don't pull the trigger, period. The action, that 10% of the time they're actually in a trade, is just the boring mechanical conclusion of all that patience.
So this all really boils down to a few key mindset shifts. Amateurs are in it for a thrill ride. Professionals are in it for cold, hard efficiency. And most importantly, you have to realize that patience isn't passive. It's not the absence of action. It is the active presence of absolute, unwavering control.
All right, a new mindset is great, but talk is cheap, right? How do you actually apply this when the pressure is on and the market is moving? You need a tool. So let's walk through the active silence checklist. Before you even dream of clicking that buy or sell button, you have to be able to say a clear yes to all four of these. First, context. Is the market environment even good for your strategy right now, or is it just a bunch of choppy noise? Second, the signal. Is every single one of your rules met? No almosts, no close enoughs, no excuses. Third, risk. Have you truly, genuinely accepted that this money is gone the second you enter this trade? And finally, the why. Is this trade based on your system or is it based on your feelings? If even one answer is no, the most profitable move you can make is to close the chart and walk away.
Following a checklist like this does more than just save you from a few bad trades. It starts to fundamentally change your role in the market. The goal here isn't just to be a better gambler. The ultimate goal is to become the house.
See, the cost of impatience isn't just financial. Every time you take one of those mediocre trades, you incur what we can call emotional debt. You get frustrated, you lose your mental clarity, and then, when that perfect A-plus setup finally shows up, you're too mentally compromised to execute it properly. Doing nothing keeps your mental capital fresh and ready to deploy.
This really brings us to the final stage of mastery. For a beginner, a win is making money. But this is dangerous because you can get rewarded for really bad habits. For a professional, a win is following their rules perfectly, even if that trade ends up being a small loss. They're rewarding the process, not the random outcome. So let's just totally redefine what success looks like. Sitting through an entire trading session, seeing absolutely nothing that meets your strict criteria, and then closing your laptop without placing a single trade, that is a 100% win. You protected your capital. You outlasted all the other impulsive traders. You acted with the cold, calculating patience of the casino. I'll leave you with this one final thought to really let sink in. The market is a giant machine, and it's specifically designed to transfer wealth from the restless to the relaxed. It will tempt you, it will bore you, it will try to bait you into making a mistake. But if you can truly master the art of active silence, you flip the entire script. You stop chasing the market, and you let the opportunities come to you. You become untouchable.
If you're tired of the emotional roller coaster and ready to trade with cold discipline, subscribe to stay on the path of self-mastery.